Welcome to this class. Today we are going to look at types of discourse. But before I begin, I would like to know if I'm audible enough. Can you hear what I'm saying?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
please.
Okay, great. So at this point, let me share my screen and we'll begin. Okay, so types of discourses. What is a discourse? Sometimes when we write, we put individual sentences together for different purposes. Now, a collection of sentences is called a passage or a discourse. So basically, when you write down a collection of sentences, you have a passage, or a discourse. Now, the issue is whether the whole passage or part of the passage is argumentative or whether it is not. So we shall be distinguishing passages that are arguments and those that are not. So that's the first major topic of this class. So let's get on that right away. Now, what is an argument? An argument is a discourse that contains a claim or conclusion, which is supported with reasons or information. So a passage that contains a claim or a conclusion, and such a claim or conclusion is supported with reasons or information, that's an argument. And an argument contains at least two items or components, just like we see from this definition. First of all, it must contain a conclusion, which could also be a claim or a decision. And then it must contain expressions that are aimed at providing support or proof for the conclusion. And also these two components are what make up an argument. You can't just have a claim without supporting statements, And then you can't have supporting statements and there's no conclusion. Both of them must be involved. Let's see an example of an argument. So we have three statements here. Statement one, Ghanaian men think women don't deserve to occupy high positions. Two, they question the competence and qualification of women who are sent to high office, but refrain from doing same to even incompetent men. Then statement three, therefore, Ghanaian men do not respect women. So we have three statements. Notice that the above passage has three statements. Statements 1 and 2 are serving as information, evidence, or reasons to support statement 3. So for attempting to support statement 3, these statements are called premises. So statements 1 and 2 are premises. They are called premises because they provide reasons to support statement 3. And statement 3, for which is being supported, is called conclusion. Conclusion. So you can regard statement 3 as a conclusion, and you can identify which one is the conclusion and which one are the premises by looking at the structure of the statements. You will see that statement 3, if you know how a conclusion should be, a conclusion is like the summation or interpretation of some other statements. Look at statements 1 and 2. You see that they are providing detailed information. They are providing detailed information about the attitude of Ghanaian men to women. You see such information in statements 1 and 2. And then based on the information that you've seen, the detailed information about the attitude of Ghanaian men, which you see in statements 1 and 2. Then statement 3, you say, okay, it means that Ghanaian men do not respect women. So by looking at the structure of the statements, you can tell which statement is a conclusion and which one is a premise, or which ones are the premises. But there's also an easier way to distinguish conclusion, identify conclusion, and then identify premises. Let's see it. So identifying arguments. There are certain words or phrases you see in a passage, and you know that you are looking at a premise or a conclusion. Certain words or phrases you see in a passage, you know that you are looking at a premise or a conclusion. For instance, if you see the word for or granted that, or in view of the fact that, or in as much as, these words or phrases will tell you that you are looking at a premise. Or you see the word since, or you see the phrase, it is a fact that. When a statement begins with the phrase, it is a fact that, it means that that statement is a factual statement. It is a fact that this, it is a fact that that. You know. Hello? Yeah, you are the gate. Okay, so it will open for you right now. Yes, so let me see. So just give me 2 seconds to sort something out. I'll be back right now.
Sir, please, we can't hear.
He's not talking right.
He said we should give him 2 seconds. He'll be back. So you guys should relax.
Okay, so I'm back. That took quite a while. I'm sorry. So let me share my screen again so that we will make some progress. So I was saying that these words or phrases will tell you that you are looking at a premise. And the last thing I said was that when you see a statement beginning with a phrase, it is a fact that automatically you know you are looking at a factual statement. And factual statements are normally premises because they provide facts to support a conclusion. So these are premise indicators. Then we also have conclusion indicators. You have conclusion indicators such as therefore, consequently, hence, asserting that, for this reason. You can see that the example we gave of an argument, statement three, which is the uh, conclusion, it began with a conclusion indicator. You can see, therefore, and as a matter of fact, you can replace that word with any of the other conclusion indicators. So instead of therefore, you can say, consequently, Ghanaian men do not respect women. Or you can say, hence, Ghanaian men do not respect women, So that's how the indicators work. But it is not every conclusion or premise that has an indicator. In fact, if an examiner is going to set an exam for you, no examiner is going to write an argument for you with an indicator, So it is left for you to determine what is an argument by looking at, analyzing the structure and function of each statement, each sentence, So you don't need to rely on premise and conclusion indicators in order to identify arguments. You need to learn how to identify premises and conclusions without any indicators. Now we go to non-arguments. Not every passage or cluster of propositions is an argument. Some passages are non-arguments. For example, narratives, instructional passages, rhetorical, polemic, or opinion. So we'll begin with narratives. Let's take them one by one. A narrative is a passage that reports a sequence of events according to the order the events occurred. Example, over the course of 2 weeks, some police officers have been observed stopping and checking cars in the area between Nsawam and Aninam on the Accra-Kumasi road. They extort money and abuse motorists to question their authority, brandishing AK-47 assault rifles and dressed in heavy police gear. These officers do not just check cars, they also assault some motorists and passengers. So this passage is a collection of factual statements. So narratives are usually collections of factual statements that show, that show an order of events, how one event led to another, and so forth. And so for this reason, narratives are the easiest type of discourses or passages to identify. Once you just see factual statements that show a kind of story or progression of events, then that you've seen a narrative. Then instructional passage. This is a passage that describes a process or sequence of things to do in a specific order. It offers a list of directives to follow to accomplish some desired effects. The example below offers a list of directives on how to use a fire extinguisher. So example, pull the pin, aim the nozzle at the base of the fire. Aiming at the top of the flame with the extinguisher won't be effective. In a controlled manner, squeeze the trigger to release the agent. Sweep the nozzle from side to side until the fire is put out. So this passage is a collection of imperatives. You can see it's a collection of imperatives. Imperatives that have been arranged to show you a certain procedure. So that's how you know an instructional passage. Then you have rhetorical polemic. A rhetorical polemic is a passage communicating a usually strong feeling and persuasively venting an opinion. So, for example, I hate these lab tests. Every time I'm exposed to the disease plants, I fall ill. I'm sure they hate me or they are punishing me or something. It's disgusting how I get sick so often. So when you look at this passage, you see that it is a collection of emotive expressions. The first sentence, I hate these lab tests, that's an emotive expression. The second statement, every time I'm exposed to the disease plants, I fall ill. That's a claim. It's a claim. It's not an emotive expression, it's a claim. Then the third sentence, I'm sure they hate me or they are punishing me or something. So that's also an emotive expression. And then the last sentence is disgusting how I get sick so often. That's an emotive expression. So you have 4 emotive expressions and 1 claim. When you are making a series of emotive expressions, you also need to make at least 1 claim so that people will make sense of what you are actually talking about or what you are actually venting your feelings about. So if you look at this collection of statements or this passage, you see the second statement. Every time I'm exposed to the disease plants, I fall ill. So that's the sentence. That's a claim that helps you to understand why the person is expressing all this frustration. So a rhetorical polemic is a collection of emotive expressions and probably a claim. So there's likely to be a claim among a collection of emotive expressions. On the other hand, an argument is a passage that contains a claim that is supported with reasons or information. So whilst an argument is a claim that is supported with reasons or information, a rhetorical polemic is a claim that is surrounded by emotive expressions. So that's the basic difference between the two. Now to some exercises. Name 4 types of discourses studied in this chapter. So 4 types of discourses. What is an argument? List the components of an argument. Distinguish between argument and rhetorical polemic. So 4 questions to be answered. Does anybody want to answer them? You can raise your hand and then I would signal you to go ahead. Okay, so I think I should as well just go ahead and answer the questions. So name 4 types of discourses. You have argument, you have narrative, you have instructional passage, and then you have rhetorical polemic. What is an argument? An argument is a passage that contains a conclusion or claim and supporting reasons or information. List the components of an argument. So the components of an argument are, first of all, a conclusion, and then expressions or premises that support the conclusion. Then distinguish between argument and rhetorical polemic. Now, an argument is a claim or conclusion that is supported with reasons, whilst a rhetorical polemic is a collection of emotive expressions that can also contain a claim. So that's it for this topic. Let's check, quickly do the next topic before we round up our class. This topic is shorter than what we just did. Verbal and real disagreements. Now, it is an understanding in critical thinking that majority of the disagreements in this world are, they arise from confusion about the meaning of a word or words. We call them verbal disagreements. So a verbal dispute is a disagreement about the meaning of a word or words. So let's assume that two Americans or two Russians, two Americans in America or two Russians in Russia are discussing Africa, and then one of them sees a Fanti on television. So one of them says, that man is a Fanti. The other person says, no, he's an Akan. This argument is developing because one of them doesn't know that a Fanti is an Akan. But if he knew, then there will be no argument. So the argument is developing because of improper understanding of Fanti. And then a second example, she's a Christian because she receives Holy Communion. No, she's not a Christian because she does not speak in tongues. So this argument is arising because of confusion about the meaning of being a Christian. Okay. Then we have what we call the real disputes or the real disagreements. So real disputes a real dispute is a substantive disagreement about facts or values. So you can either call it a real disagreement or substantive disagreement. So disagreement about facts or values. Now let's see an example of, example one is an example of disagreement about facts. Accra is the capital of Ghana. No, Kumasi is the capital of Ghana. So let's assume that two Chinese in China who are not familiar with Africa are discussing Ghana, or they are discussing Africa. They are looking at a map of Africa, and then one of them points to Ghana and says, Accra is the capital of this country. The other person the other person says, no, I think it's Kumasi. No, Kumasi is the capital. So it is a factual disagreement. It's a factual disagreement, and they have to settle it by verifying the facts, finding out which fact is the true fact. Then example two is an example of a value disagreement over values. Let's assume that in 1950, Kwame Nkrumah and the other members of the Big Six were negotiating with the British for the independence of Ghana. And then in the negotiations, there were discussions about which town should be the capital of Ghana. And then someone says Accra should be the capital of Ghana. Another person says, no, Accra should not be the capital of Ghana. That is a disagreement over values or preferences. Values are normally preferences that people have, So it's a disagreement over preferences or a value disagreement, So these are the two kinds of real disagreements. You have factual disagreements, and then you have value disagreements. Okay, now a little exercise. Determine whether the following disagreement is verbal or real. Sandra says that man is quite old. He died at 50. Comfort says you call that old. He died young. So is this a verbal or a real disagreement? Does anybody want to attempt an answer? Frank, you can go ahead.
Please, I think it's a real dispute, real disagreement.
Okay, your reason.
So please, my reason is this is about age, and it's the age at which someone dies depends. Like when someone is, before someone can say you were old before you died, like the person has his own standard or something. And here to Sandra, dying at 50 is quite old, but to Comfort, it's young. So they are having a value dispute.
Is age, is the perception of age a kind of value?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay, so next person, who's Basma? Yes, go ahead.
I think it's a verbal disagreement.
Okay. Yeah, so your reason.
So it's because, like, Sandra is saying the man is old because he died at 50, and Comfort is saying he's not old because all of them have a perception of what old means to them. So to Sandra, old is not 50. To Sandra, old is 50, and to Comfort, old is not 50. So it can be a real argument because everyone in his perception of what old means to them.
Okay, that's fine. So when you look at something like age, age is um, age is a kind of description. You are trying to describe someone's condition. The problem with such a description is that in some countries, some people at 90, they don't look old. But in some countries, some people at 50, they already look old. There are some countries where people live up to 150 years, 120 years, like Puerto Rico. There, because of their conditions, their weather conditions, their nutrition, the kind of food they eat, it is alleged that they eat a lot of potatoes, and scientists are still trying to find out why people who eat a lot of potatoes are living more than 100 years. So the Puerto Ricans, and then a particular island in Japan, I don't know if it is Okinawa or something, they also eat a lot of potatoes and they live up to 150 years, 120 years. So in those places, someone is still young at 90. But in places where people die at 70, 60 or 70 or 80, someone begins to get old at 50. So trying to determine which age is old age is very difficult because it varies according to conditions, several variables and all those things. So because of that, these two girls or these two ladies are having confusion about whether 50 is old or not. So because the meaning of old is not really settled, you can call it a verbal disagreement. All right, so that's it for our exercise. Today is Saturday. As from next week, we're going to be holding classes twice a week. So I sent you a link before. The link you are using for this video, I'm going to modify it to include 2 classes a week. One class will be on Thursday, another class will be on Saturday. And both classes are going to be for the same time. So I'll modify that same link and then I'll resend it to you. Even if you don't receive Even if you don't see the one I'm going to resend, you can still be using this particular link, and then you will see the changes. So I wish all of you a very happy weekend. I'm going to leave you now so that you enjoy your weekend. All right, so someone is raising a hand. Basma.
Yeah, I was not able to join the UGRC group very early, so I've not been able to join last week's class. I was wondering if you have slides for last week's class.
Just go to the Sakai of your group. Go to your Sakai, your course. Go to your course group on Sakai, and then go to resources. When you go to the course on Sakai, to your particular group, you click on resources, and then you see the videos for all the classes, the recordings for the classes we've done so far. The slides are contained in the videos. So by watching the videos, you also watch the slides. We wouldn't give you slides on their own because we feel that it encourages students not to buy the textbooks. And the textbooks contain exercises that the slides do not contain. So most of those who are buying the slides are endangering their performance during the assessments. So by refusing to give you slides, we reduce the number of people who complain they failed the course. All right, so Stephen had unmuted himself. I thought he wanted to speak. All right, so I'm going to leave you guys. Have a nice weekend.